Take a deep breath and remember who you are. Yeah, they're gonna mess with you, baby, you're a star. Stepping in the spotlight, you know that it feels like time to put up a fight, honey. Got nothing left to lose, so let's start right now. Everybody want a piece of you. Gotta give them what they want, it's true. You're symphonic, yeah, so iconic. If you didn't know before, now you know. Now you know. Take a big step away from who you were. Flashing that smile and the whole world's a blur.
Positively powerful, back again for a Wednesday, although we're running a little bit behind schedule, but actually we're not. We're right on schedule. We just moved the schedule. Stacey Steinmiller joining me today, and it looks like I'm going to cut to you real quick because I need to fix something. So good morning, Stacey. Tell everyone how you're doing.
Good morning. It is a beautiful day outside. It's chilly, but the sun is out and I love it. I had a great mastermind this morning with Rochester Rotary. So
Sweet.
I'm moving and grooving.
That's awesome. I just had to adjust something off camera here. So, you sent out a Substack
Yeah, I did.
article. Was that yesterday?
It was Monday.
Monday?
Kind of late on Monday. Yeah.
And it kind of chronicles your journey from where you started and where you are now, sort of. And that was that really connected with me. That really resonated with me because I think a lot of what you went through, I saw similarities between what happened with you and what happened with me. And the part that I got out of it the most was that the word allow, and allowing things to, well, you tell me what that means, because you're more eloquent in that way.
Well,
when you
I'm
talk
curious
about
of how it resonated, but you can tell me, share in a minute. But yes, I remember writing that word specifically, which reminded me of, I think around that time I had set, and I probably even shared this on here, I set the word allow as like my word for the year, because it's like that one word, I think, has helped me with my control issues, basically. Learning how to allow for what is and not trying to change what is, which is impossible. Like, it's an impossible task. So it's very frustrating to try and like change how you feel, right? Like, if you're feeling a certain way, if you try to like force a change on it, you're just going to add more negative emotion to it, versus like allowing the sensations of the emotion to move through your body. It's a very freeing experience.
And this is also something that, since I started working with you, has kind of been a theme here and there that it didn't really connect until I read that article, and I was like, oh yeah, and the one thing I wanted to find out was the difference, if there is one, between allowing and acceptance. You know what I mean? Because like allowing is like, all right, I can't control this, so I'm going to let it take its course. But accepting is almost has like a finality to it, has like an end to it, as opposed to, you know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to explain myself.
I want to Google the definition of acceptance.
Talk amongst yourselves.
to kind of maybe see, so it's this acceptance, the action of consenting to receive or undertake something offered, the action or process of being received as adequate or suitable, typically to be admitted to a group. Agreement with or belief in an idea, opinion, explanation. Okay, so that's where it's like maybe like allowing. With allowing, you don't necessarily have to agree.
Right.
Yeah, so maybe that's the difference.
Okay.
But with allowing, there's trust, and I might have used that word, and I should have pulled the article up. It's probably up here somewhere. But I guess that, it's really just like a trusting in the process. So there's a big feeling of surrender that happens there with the word allow for me, and I think most people.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah.
I know that when I started kind of thinking down this road, there was a lot of that kind of allowing what I want to happen. I think you explained it to me like I didn't realize, but I was actually fighting what was supposed to happen because like of my ego and different things, and that if I just allowed certain things to happen the way they were going to happen and not fight against it, that it would eventually kind of work its way through and evolve into what it's supposed to be. I know that seems very like vague, I guess, but that's kind of what it was. And when I read your story about how drastically your life had changed and how like you had all this stuff going for you, but yet you were living kind of two different lives. You were like, there was your professional self that was like all buttoned up and kicking ass and taking names. And then there was your personal life that was like spiraling out of control. And that's the part that really resonated with me, because that's what in 2017, that's where I was. I could make the argument that my professional life was in the right place. I was working full time in radio. I had a morning job in radio. I had a lot of freelance work, so I wasn't stressing necessarily about income, even though I wasn't making the kind of money I wanted to make in radio, but that was the reality of what it was. So I was constantly looking for other things. And but there was my personal life was a disaster. And a lot of that was my fault. And it took.
So you resonated with that part too.
Yeah. And it took me. Basically, I mean, to be completely honest about it, it took me almost losing my entire personal life, not like as in death, but just as in losing everything.
Yeah.
To get me to realize that I was hopelessly on a dead end path, a path that was not going to lead to anywhere, and was able to, with the help of therapy and with the help of loved ones and different things like that, was able to pull myself back. And once I did that, then my professional life went so much further than it could have, than I even imagined, and continues to do.
Yeah.
Because of that. And I don't, it was like allowing the idea that, and this, this kind of goes back to the steps in a 12-step program where I had to basically accept that I was not in control, and that my life was unmanageable, and I needed something, and that making that first step turned into, where I am now.
Right. Yeah, and it's really similar, right? I'm powerless, right?
Yeah. Is the
Yeah, I don't obviously
powerless. Yeah,
let's
the powerlessness part
yeah,
is really,
with
yeah.
the 12 steps, which I don't like that phrasing, but it's that same thing of like surrendering to a higher power,
Right.
right? With the 12 steps. And then I guess I was kind of sharing a bit that in my story. Because it was almost like feeling like I needed something even more of like with therapy, there's, coping skills, so working through your emotions and, and working on being more embodied and all of that, but that there was still all this like sense of my ego was still taking control and wanting control things. And it, for me anyways, it really takes like that idea of surrendering to a higher power, something to stop that control process. Because yeah, if we think we can control, then we're going to still be doing our shitty behaviors, whatever those are, right? And they're coming from a negative energy and a place of lack and fear. And so that's like the only way I could really fully move out of that energy was bringing in a spiritual component, you know.
Yeah. And we've talked about this before, how the spiritual component can look like a lot of different things to different
Different things,
people.
yeah.
It could be religion, it could be other things. I I have like sort of an amalgamation of
Yeah, I feel
you
like
know
I
what I
do
mean?
too. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like I do a lot of work with my church. Though I don't consider myself a real, you know, super
Mhm.
Christian or anything like that.
Yeah.
My version of that religion is very personal, and I tend to think of the universe
Mhm.
and that
Yeah.
sort of higher, greater consciousness
Yes.
and infinite wisdom as the
Yes.
being, as opposed to the personification, in a
Right.
dude that
Right.
looks
Like
like,
the man in the sky.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Sort of.
yeah,
Yeah.
like Ted
Yeah.
Nugent,
Totally.
in a robe. So
Sorry, I know you just put that image in my head now. It's sorry. All of a
we
sudden, like,
see.
we're at the
I
RT.
always love how Jesus is portrayed in Family Guy, where he's
Yes.
like,
Oh
he's
my
kind of
God.
like a hippie and he's in sandals. He's like, hey
Yeah.
man, what's going
Yeah.
on? Um,
So good.
but that
So
but
good.
that's what resonated with me, and for me it did start um on the 12-step journey. I didn't, and that works for a lot of people. It worked initially, I think, to get my mindset right in what I was wanting to accomplish, and then
Yeah.
I realized where I was in the grand scheme of all of that, and took my own path that worked for me.
Yes. Yeah.
Which some people can do, and I still credit a lot of my success in that area from Anne Graham, who
Oh, right.
who is
Yes.
my
Love you.
therapist, and she was like a surrogate mother.
Hmm.
She was like the person I could turn to, and she could also would call me out and say, now I'm going to call you out on your BS, Scott. This is not, you got to think about what does this mean and what does that mean and stuff. It was really, really helpful. But going back to the spirituality and just the karma, I think karma
Yeah.
really started to
Mm,
play a huge part of my life,
me
in
too.
making my decisions. It was kind of like, that's not, the energy behind what you're thinking right now is not right, and it's gonna
Yeah.
go bad. It's gonna go bad.
Yeah. Yeah. And you start to look at things really differently. And before, before I didn't even realize how negative or how much in fear I was living, because I was just like normal. And it was how I became so successful. It's how everything, it's just like, oh, this is just how I am or how we are or how we need to be. Um, so yeah, so the concept of allowing, letting go, surrendering, it felt like a death. It was a complete death.
Mm.
Um, it, yeah, I would be. in such like despair. But if I didn't get to that level of despair, then I wouldn't have gotten to that being my only solution, right? So it's like, that's where it's like you have to be in so much suffering, especially when you have a really strong ego. You have to be in so much suffering that you finally realize that is the only way to move through and get out of that continuously trying to control your reality from fear is just going to create more
And
of that.
also having children also,
Yeah,
you know, really kind of
that's a
forces
big
your
one for a lot
hand
of people. Yeah,
forces your
that's a
hand
big
a lot
one.
of things. You're like, well, you know, what am I, how am I, is this what, you know, is this what I want to be? Is this what I want? You know, how are my kids seeing me? What do
Yeah.
I want to be for them? And you, like, for me, I put initially I put everything for them first. It was like, how do I want my kids to see me? How do I want my wife to see me? And Anne turned it around and said, no, how do you want to see yourself? Like, what kind of man? And that was really one of the first things she said to me was like, what kind of a man do you want to be? Like, what kind of person do you want to be?
Yeah.
And I sat back and I was like, well, let's see. I want to be someone who people can count on. I want to be the person who people would say they would never question my character. They would
Mhm.
always know that I was rock solid in my actions, and that I would always, you know, I'd be trustworthy and all of these things.
Yeah.
And I made this list of how I wanted to be, and that's kind of where we started. And but you know, my family did play a role in that, because I wanted to, how I wanted them to see me was pretty much how I wanted to see myself. So it kind of worked out,
Right.
you know.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And oftentimes, what we do is we're looking for the outside for that acceptance. I was talking about this with a client like yesterday, I think. Right. It's like we're looking for that acceptance on the outside to then identify like that's who we are, right? So if other people see me as a good person, then you're like, okay, I'm a good person. Whereas we actually have to flip that. Like we have to identify whatever that is first, and then we start to see it reflected back to us. But yeah, in that state of fear, we are always looking for the outside to dictate it versus looking and showing up how we want to be, like you're saying, like really looking at how do I want to show up, who do I want to be, and doing that from the inside out.
Yeah, I get the sense that that writing is one of the things that you turn to
Yeah, I
when you
do
need to
like to
like either
write.
work through things, work through your feelings or your thoughts or whatever. Or for me, writing has always been a way to get through all of those emotions,
Yeah.
you know. And I think I wish I were better at it, because I look back at because you know I'm a history buff, so a lot of times I'm you know, reading something about history, and they will always go back to this person's diary, you know, and this person wrote in their
Right.
diary here, and I'm like, that is such an, I wish I had the discipline to have a diary or a
Well,
journal, whatever you want to
that's
call it,
a goal. There we
you
go.
know.
You're gonna
It
have
is, it
a
is.
journal now. I like, and I guess I challenge the like, what do you mean you're not good at it? You just do it. You just write, right? Like you
Oh
just
yeah.
write.
No, yeah,
Yeah.
it's not that I was worried about the quality of my entries. It's just I don't have the discipline to do it. Like, I just forget.
Well, you don't have to do it every day. That's what I always say. But if anybody has a writing goal, the big thing, these are such the fun blocks. But, I'm that type of person that wants to go buy a new journal, right? And I'm going to start on this day and I'm going to write in it every day. And then, of course, when I don't write in it, then I'm like, oh, I failed, right? And then that negative feeling prevents you from writing in it again, right? And so that is one thing That's it. I'm glad you brought that up because that's something I work through a lot during this time as well. And at some point, years later, I started this practice called morning pages. I don't know if I've talked about this on here yet. But Julia Cameron wrote a book called The Artist's Way, and a technique she recommends is morning pages where you set a timer for 20 minutes and you write without stopping and you just let out your stream of consciousness and just dump everything onto a paper. And I practiced that for quite a while, and I think that was really helpful to do. Yeah, because it forces you can't pick the pen up, like, or like you can't stop writing. So even if you're like, I don't know what I'm writing about, like you write that just to move through your fears.
Yeah, one of the things that it kind of goes along with that, the idea of, if you want to be a writer, you have to have discipline and you have to write. Writers write. I mean, it goes back to that. Writers write. And there's a couple of different screenwriters who I've spoken to, because that was a dream of mine at one point, was to be a screenwriter. And one of the consistent tips that I always got was just write.
Right. Yeah.
And set yourself, make office hours.
Yes.
You don't have a job as a writer, but you can still make office hours. And if it has to be after you do your day job, then you say, all right, my writing office hours are 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. And you get in there, you sit down and you write for 3 hours or 4 hours or however long. And whether you write garbage or you write something good or whatever, you're writing. And eventually, the repetition, the discipline of being in that schedule will help you to achieve what you need to achieve.
Right. And then the identity component comes in, because then now when you're doing that, you start to feel and believe that you're a writer because you are putting it in your schedule and you're honoring that time. So your identity is going to start shifting and believing you're a writer. And then you might have a desire of like, well, I want to become a better writer. Well, what would a writer do? Well, maybe they would take a class. Maybe they would expand their knowledge. Maybe you know what I mean? So then you start just naturally doing all of the things that support your journey as a writer, but it's coming from a place of like love. It's coming from your passion. It's coming from your heart versus this really like punitive, like I've got to do this, and if I don't do this, then this means I failed, and then this, like, and it's just a whole different way to go about achieving your dreams and goals and desires.
Yeah, and when it's fun.
Yeah.
When there's joy involved, then it's easy. It's easy. Yeah. Boy, we've gone all around the world.
I know we really
today.
have gone over. I love it though. This is like great. It's great.
It was just when the usual thing on Tuesday is, what are we going to talk about tomorrow? And you mentioned the Substack, and I remember it coming through and left it unread so that I could go back and read it. And then when I went back and read it, and it just reminded me, it reminded me of my journey, and it was almost like a reset too, because I had to think about where I was at the end of 2017. At this time of year in 2017 compared to now. I'm a completely different person. You wouldn't even recognize me, I don't think. You'd be like, who is this guy?
Yeah, that's interesting, because it's also the same time period, really. It was around this time in 2017, and it's a little different. But I was like, I remember I was like, I'm going to blow my life up. Like I wanted my life to blow up. It was a very weird feeling. I felt like there was no other way to change unless if it all just got set on fire.
Yeah, I was at the I don't give a shit phase. I was like, you know what? I'm miserable. I'm going to do what I want. And I don't care. Which is obviously a very selfish and terrible way to
But when you're
be.
but that's where that's where like our suffering, I think I've said it, like it's selfish, right? Like as we're in such an ego state and we can't see outside of our own suffering. And so it's just like, well, fuck it. Like I'm suffering so much, but it's just, yeah, you can't see outside of yourself when you're that deep into suffering. So yeah, which is why it's important not to take other people's suffering personally, because it's about them and their shit, you know.
And that's why I will always be the biggest cheerleader for therapy. One-on-one therapy, couples therapy, any kind of therapy, even if you don't think you need therapy. You know, man, just like book a time with a therapist and sit down and talk, and you'll be surprised what'll come out.
Right.
You might think everything's hunky-dory and you're like, oh wow, because there's so much, us as human beings, there's so much that we all should be working on a daily basis that we forget. Like I forget about it all the time. And I'm like, wait a second, I really should be thinking this way, or I should be doing this, or whatever. So I don't know. It's my soapbox moment, I guess. Get your therapy on, bro. You even therapize.
I like it. And I'm glad you enjoyed the article. I've gotten a lot of feedback on it. And so yeah, I just decided a bit abruptly, there's patterns in my life here, that I'm going to do a blog on there. So subscribe if you're interested. And that next one will come out next week.
And it got me thinking, it was like, I want to do the same thing. But I have to think about it some more.
Yeah, I chatted with ChatGPT to help me. And you know, it's just interesting how that story came out, because I'm talking about ChatGPT. I was like, oh, I want to do like a blog series, you know, and all this back and forth and everything. And, you know, the thing it spit out, you know, it had asked me questions and I was just like, this isn't right. You know, what it gave me. So then I was like, well, ChatGPT, this is the real story.
Yeah.
This is what really happened. Right. So it was just interesting also that process of how I was guiding. And I actually would do this with journaling before, right? And this is how I come up with a lot of prompts that I give my clients and stuff, is me asking myself my own questions and then answering them.
Oh, nice.
So it's just funny that I like did this little process with ChatGPT. And then and so I kind of led myself to recognizing this is the story I need to tell or to start this series with. And I was like, oh, because obviously it was very vulnerable. So I was like, of course, this is what I've got to do. Because if it doesn't hurt, if it doesn't feel uncomfortable, you're not growing, you're not stretching, you know, your edges. And so I was like, yep, okay, this is it. So that's kind of a little behind the scenes of how that story came out.
And from just speaking from a client's standpoint, as I am your client.
Yeah, what's that like?
Well, it's cool because it's like, here is someone who's obviously doing the work, has done the work, and is still working at trying to improve, at trying to get better. And that is inspiring for me. Yeah. And then it makes me go, hey, yeah, I got the right person.
Good. Then that's always usually the feedback that I get from all my clients, is what they like most is they're like, Stacey, you know, they feel like we're doing the work alongside of each other.
Yeah.
It's not that I've reached some stage of doneness and then I'm just like handing off this knowledge or something, which just I don't think exists, or anybody that does like say that. I'm always like, well, there is no done. But so it feels like this very more together, connected journey, and that I think I love on my end too, with my clients. And yeah, so I appreciate you sharing your perspective and how that feels on the other side.
Absolutely. And we're going to wrap up now. Even though we went all around the world in this one, but it's always fun to get this stuff out and just to talk about it and see where the conversation goes. RadicalLifeCoach.com for Stacey Steinmiller if you want to work with her or find out more. Subscribe to her Substack.
Yeah.
And definitely check out the article we were talking about today. We'll post a link to it in the comments below. Rockvox.com. We've got some exciting things coming up with some studio rebuilds and other things that are going to be very exciting. So keep an eye on the socials for those developments. And we'll see you next time on Positively Powerful.
Big step away from who you